Hello everybody, my name is Damiano Longo. I'm a teacher at CPIA Lecce. Welcome to my presentation. This presentation concerns with the adult migrants that are provided with the language classes in adult formal schools in order to obtain valid certifications involving language testing, which is compulsory under the law, to obtain permanent resident status. Two perspectives were considered: the role of immigrant motivation and the opportunities provided by CPI school. This kind of courses present a variety of problems concerning both students and teachers in terms of heterogeneity and intercultural aspects. In this investigation, in particular, a syllabus of CPIA made up of only 200 hours and performed by teachers with few or no experience in the field of second language acquisition is considered and analyzed through a survey carried out in 2019 at the CPIA. According to Italian laws, the CPIA centers, like of a standard high school, are characterized by classes composed by teenagers up 16 years old and adults, and proposes a variety of curricula. In this presentation, only Italian language courses denoted as AA in Italian language are considered. The typical classroom of such courses is quite heterogeneous, being composed of unaccompanied minors of low schooling level, students from international communities, often refugees or asylum seekers, people in a state of uncertainty fleeing from tragic events, regular worker migrants integrated into the surrounding areas and willing to improve the Italian language, illiterate and semi-literate adults, people with learning difficulties, students with serious differences between pre-A1 level in writing and, for example, an intermediate level in speaking, international university students beginning the courses from A1 in order to carry on their studies till B2 level. Many of them come from all over the world. In this context, the lesson plan process can be the right key to answer to the majority of requests from students and to assure the validation of the course. The first step is therefore the analysis of their motivation. Some students, cultured residents, want to build their learning path. For example, the tasks which they are called to carry out every day, particularly in the context of the class. Others, forced by the immigration status, do not commit themselves if they do not have at least some hope of succeeding. As Schumann wrote in 1998, the perception of the quality of learning experiences is a fundamental variable of motivation. So we can say that language habits, the attitudes towards language and at least towards language learning of the receiving society is determined by very different factors which cannot be brought into simple relation. However, we can identify 5 dimensions on which individuals evaluate the stimuli they receive from the environment. In order to design a typical lesson plan for this context, we should consider the 10 competencies to be reached after the 200 hours syllabus at CPIA. These competencies are classified in Table 1 according to the 5 linguistic skills. So listening, reading, oral and written interaction, oral production and written production. The first part of the presentation analyzed the role of the students. Now we are going to focus on the teacher's role. The skills and competencies of the teachers of CPIA are analyzed on the basis of the author's experience as coordinator of the L2 department. In this role, the author performed an analysis of the percentage of success of immigrants in achieving the required certification in the last school years, 2017-18 and 2018-19. It was found that only 46% of the 845 students enrolled in 2017 and 61% enrolled in 2018 second language acquisition courses achieved the final certification. According to the author, the limited didactic skills of the teachers are one of the causes of this limited degree of success. Therefore, a short training course of Italian second language teaching was held by the author and addressed to all teachers of CPIA involved in multicultural classes. The limited knowledge of second language acquisition theory resulted qualitatively from the discussion with the participants and quantitatively from a survey administered to the 33 teachers involved in the short course. The results of the survey revealed that most of the CPIA teachers have taught in Italian second language classes in the past, but only 24% of them had attended specific courses from Centers for Italian Language Certification or Masters in Italian as a Second Language. Note that only recently, 2016, the Italian Ministry of Education has allowed each CPIA to enroll two qualified teachers that passed open competitive exams in Italian for international students. The other is one of them. Before planning a model of lesson plan, some factors can be considered. Firstly, the language acquisition outside the classroom depends on different language contexts. Standard Italian language is rarely practiced because of the interaction with the dialect speakers, and it is essential for surviving. Secondly, the content language integrated learning principles cannot be applied to migrants' language courses due to the heterogeneity of languages. The third element concerns with the question of testing for residence or citizenship. On the one hand, testing stimulates assimilation, but on the other hand, it can discourage illiterate students or students with motivated difficulties in attending courses. So a typical lesson plan should weigh the possibility of facing the factors mentioned above. The adoption of the speaking model complies with these necessities. To face the different needs of adult students, differentiated teaching techniques, mostly based on cooperative learning approaches, were proposed in literature, but with pros and cons because illiterates could show distress, discouragement, confusion. In this work, a concise lesson path is proposed according to Haim's speaking model. The acronym stands for Setting and Scene, Participants, Ends, Act Sequence, Keys, Instrumentalities, Norms, and Genres. It focuses on analyzing the speech events, but in this investigation the acronym is considered to manage the classes in presence and on distance, without focusing only on specific techniques or methods, but by considering the basic theories on second language acquisition. Let's start with the S setting and the P participants at CPIA. It is necessary to create basic motivational conditions by assuring a class atmosphere that involves pleasure and support. If the teacher takes out an adequate cohesion of the group, she can ensure the relevance of his or her teaching materials, even if the classroom has lack of devices, because the focus is the increasing of successful students' expectation. The warm-up phase plays an important role in motivation. The ENS stands for Goal and Outcome. A successful communication at level A2 must be guaranteed to students both in oral and written form. To manage this effort, it is important that teachers have a clear idea about the process involved in the formation of interlanguage. In particular, the language transfer process is if you consider it at CPIA setting, by ignoring that in the process of language acquisition, the influence resulting from similarities and differences between the target language and any other language that has been previously acquired is a key issue for future steps. The A act sequences involves all the participants at the new input that is proposed that discuss it. The adult learners bring with themselves a wealth of linguistic and cultural experience that allows them to have an active role in the presentation phase of a new part of the lesson. Moreover, at CPIA context, the learner lives immersed in L2 itself, so the teacher has no control over the input, nor how much the learner has learned spontaneously, sometimes with errors. A fundamental psychological characteristic of the adult is its metalinguistic need, which is far superior to that of the child or adolescent. The input hypothesis I+1 is crucial to produce results in this phase. The key refers to the clues that establish the tone, manner, or spirit of the speech act. According to Rogers, the adult is reluctant to continually question the architecture of his knowledge. Therefore, the teaching process can be successful only if the student himself or herself decides to change his or her knowledge. Adult learners do not make acts of faith, but feel equal to the teacher, except for the teacher of foreign mother tongue. This is a strong point at the CPIA context, because the learner tries to imitate the teacher's voice and gestures. In this case, different keys should be used in different situations. Intonation can provide additional linguistic input and social behavior in formal and in informal context. The I denotes the instrumentalities. In the worst-case scenario that the school does not have adequate devices and equipment to allow differentiation of learning, given the heterogeneity of the level of the language knowledge present in the classroom of adults, it is necessary to resort to techniques and teaching strategies that can be the emergency tools for the teacher. A short example is briefly illustrated in Table 2 in the paper. The N refers to norms, that is, social rules governing the event and the participants' actions and reactions. Since all the HUDAs, teaching by learning units, are linked to skills necessary to include in this aspect of the rules, the definition of communicative competence in the sense of knowing how to do with the language, which includes the social, pragmatic dimension and culture. It is useful to emphasize the use of paralinguistic and extralinguistic elements to foster the acquisition of a linguistic communicative competence. DG Gen, the kind of speech act or event. At this point, it could be useful to focus on the speech acts that occur in a heterogeneous and difficult class. If teachers are interested in learning more about his or her students communicating door and out to door, a particular attention should be addressed on this aspect. It happens that during a class the high percentage of talking belongs to the teacher, who, involuntarily, does not allow students to have time to organize his or her speech and talk both with the classmates and with the teacher. The typical class at CPIA is strongly heterogeneous. Most of the students are considered a vulnerable population. Teachers are not always adequately prepared. To cope with these difficulties, a lesson plan was proposed, and the lesson plan proposed by the author can be a useful tool of reference for all the teachers who approach the Italian L2 teaching, and also to all those who have faced the emergency of teaching without having received adequate preparation in the field of second language acquisition. Thank you for your attention.